canoe journey is, for me, going back to our old relationships, our old ties with our neighboring tribes and neighboring nations. A lot of this is reconnecting the old alliances and relationships and the history, and also healings from some of the traumatic history as well. And then going through, past that, going through kind of meditation and having a clear space and really reflecting on a lot of things that you've carried throughout the year that you really want to put into each paddle and each stroke when you're on the canoe.
This is a missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls memorial for women and missing women and girls. And so this is a dress that represents what that we will never forget them.
When people came over to the Americas and they found communities and nations that were already existing, if you could create a false story that the people there weren't really people like you, that they were savage, that they were a lower being, it helped them justify taking the lands. It helped them justify coming in and riding over entire cultures. Then suddenly everyone felt just a little bit superior. It made it easier for them to come in and do all these terrible things that otherwise they could never admit to themselves that they were doing. If you read through the historical records, that's exactly what happened. Everyone was writing in their journals and sending back these tales to Europe of these natives, these savages, and mixed with these tales of savagery were these tales of the women. The tales of the women were all hypersexualized tales of women who were lascivious and who were there for sexual pleasure. That dialogue, that false story that came from the very instant of contact with Indigenous communities in the Americas was the underpinning of everything that has come forward in the relationship between Indigenous peoples and those who settled on this continent. And I think it has impacted how the public in general has looked at women of color, who gets to be a victim and who is not a victim. That by itself has had an incredible impact on how easy it is for people to abuse and harm Indigenous women and girls, and eventually just Indigenous communities and families in general. And I think it also has had a huge impact on us ourselves. As Indigenous women, how we viewed ourselves, whether we were more vulnerable to certain types of exploitation, what kind of healing that we needed. It's a type of healing that no one really talked about if you didn't understand it. And sometimes we didn't understand it ourselves.
My name is Rosalie Fish, and we are the Sacred Canoe Family. I want to start off by thanking you for the hospitality and selflessness that you have accepted on this, when you open your hearts and your lands to all of these people and all of your relatives. So I want to thank you for that. Today, we dedicated our poll to pray for the missing and murdered relatives that we all know. And on our canoe, you'll see these red ribbons with the names of our stolen relatives who we prayed for today. And with our handprint on our faces, we wear that to tell anybody here that we stand with you. And with that, I humbly ask permission on behalf of the Cowlitz tribe to come ashore and share food, dances, and stories.
I think the work to bring attention to our missing and murdered relatives is incredibly important, and it seems that that work is really, it's happening at a community level, and it's happening across regions and nations, and I think that regional and national work is important. People are not just missing and murdered, but they're also unaccounted for. And that's, in my view, it's a continued erasure of our relatives. And so when I think about where solutions lie, I really think that the solutions lie in our communities. They lie in our languages and in our traditions. They lie in our ability to help raise and support our relatives to be healthy and strong in their identities so that they are not as vulnerable to people who would harm or exploit them.
Culture and ceremony and our way is amazing and well. Knowing our creation stories is amazing and well. However, again, it comes down to, if your false knowings are you can't trust, if your false knowings are you don't belong here, you don't deserve love, then you're not allowed, or you're not enabling yourself to integrate those creation stories. You're unable to heal or reconcile those first traumas. Because I know that as a First People, we're carrying traumas that didn't only happen to me, right? There's generations of these being missing and murdered. There's generations of babies being taken, and there's generations of the walks and not having our ability to carry a drum and those things. So like when a sister goes missing, or when a trauma does happen, my family, I teach about safety, and that's physical, spiritual, emotional, mental safety, and it's my job and it's my role, and I'm so humbled to be in that position with my grandbabies, with my children, with my canoe family, to provide those experiences of what does safety look like. So being a First People, I've had opportunities to do that. I've been able to reconcile and heal myself, my womb, my 8th direction, my 9th direction, through the false knowings of being objectified, exploited, and that kind of thing, so that I can lead my family the best way.
A great deal of the answer to it is going to come as we reconnect with our history, we reconnect with our stories and our songs and the cultures, because I firmly believe that as our cultures come back and as we start remembering them more, we will see the high esteem that women were held in equal part with the men. We will see we as women have always been valued in ways that we have forgotten, in ways that maybe our communities have forgotten because of these historical stories, these false stories that were circulated about us from the very beginnings, the very underpinnings of this country on this land. And I hope that, I don't just hope, I really believe that we are starting to find each other. All over the world, connecting with each other and saying we are finding our songs again, we're finding our medicines again, we're finding our strength again. And together, we're going to create that shield of protection for ourselves and for each other so that we can truly fight this. And we desperately need our men to continue to stand strong behind us and supporting us in this so that we never fall back into those patterns that divided us, those ugly, false story patterns that have divided us in the past.
I feel incredibly encouraged by just the resurgence of our languages and our songs and our traditions, because that gives me hope that fewer people will be vulnerable, and with time, violence will really will be unacceptable.
This candle's being lit for missing, murdered Indigenous women, never forgotten.
CM na stelata CM na elas daunuch na slit quenisquel aquino squel CM to kachnin to shalakwa it's all lalo to squachil haichka CM Anuch ait an chachnin a tis kuchil CM haichka CM Nequelia Nich and at Huiwo I Hangasto friends, relatives, behalf of Lummi Nation, behalf of our elders, I want to thank each of you that came forward, answered the invitation, paddled here to Lummi. I want to thank each of you for bringing your good feelings this morning. And thank you all for sharing your songs, your dances with our community. We hope that when you make your journey back home, that you find your homes the way that you left them. On behalf of Lummi Nation here, we have gifts for your family. We ask that you share it with the members however you see fit. On behalf of Lummi Nation, with all of my heart, I say Sayatsin Platinaquelia. I raise my hands to each of you. Haichka Siemnaquelia sa na atla tiesquachil. Thank you for being here this morning. Haichka Siem.